The heavy velvet curtain pulled shut. Outside, thousands were chanting her name. Inside, the air smelled like expensive perfume and fear. The billionaire grabbed the girl's arm. His grip left a red mark on her wrist. "She is perfect, Beatrice," the man whispered. "The most beautiful one you have ever brought me." The girl was shaking. She looked at the woman she called her spiritual mother. "Please, Ma," she sobbed. "Why are you locking the door? Why is he touching me like that?" The woman didn't look at the girl's tears. She was too busy looking at the thick envelope of cash on the table. She adjusted her tight silk dress and smiled. "Be quiet, my daughter," the woman said. Her voice was like honey, but her eyes were like ice. "This is how you get your blessing." The man pulled the girl closer. The woman turned her back and started counting the money. If this was a house of God, why was the devil the one holding the key? Everyone in the city knew the name Pastor Beatrice. When she walked, the ground seemed to honor her. She was a woman of power. She was a woman of beauty. Her body was shaped like a violin, and she wore clothes that cost more than a doctor's salary for a whole year. Every Sunday, she stood on a stage made of gold and glass. She would talk about the light, but she was very comfortable in the dark. Beatrice was not just a preacher. She was an architect of lies. She knew exactly what to say to make a poor man give his last kobo. She knew exactly how to smile to make a politician feel like a king. People called her the Oracle of Grace. They believed that if she touched them, their problems would vanish. They didn't know that if she touched them, she was actually checking their pockets. Her church, the Tabernacle of Wonders, was always full. It was a beautiful building with air conditioning that made you forget the heat of the African sun. But the church had a secret. Behind the beautiful singing and the loud prayers, there was a market. Beatrice did not sell bread or fish. She sold people. She sold futures. Every month, Beatrice started a new youth empowerment program. She told the congregation she wanted to help young, beautiful girls find jobs in the city. She said she would be their mother. She said she would protect them. The families would cry and thank her. They would bring their daughters to her mansion, thinking they were sending them to a better life. But once the doors of the mansion closed, the mother became a manager. Beatrice had a black leather book. In this book, she didn't write prayer points. She wrote names. On one side, she had the names of the girls. On the other side, she had the names of big men. These were senators, business moguls, and wealthy foreigners. These men didn't want prayers. They wanted beauty. And Beatrice had plenty of beauty to sell. One Tuesday morning, Beatrice sat in her private office. The walls were covered in mirrors so she could see her stunning shape from every angle. She was wearing a red silk gown that hugged her curves. She looked like a queen, but her mind was working like a calculator. She was looking at a photo of a new girl who had just arrived from the village. "Too short," Beatrice muttered, tossing a photo aside. "The minister likes them tall and fair." Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Her assistant, a nervous man named Samuel, walked in. "Ma," Samuel said, bowing low. "There is a girl outside. She says she has no money, but she has a calling. She wants to serve you." Beatrice sighed. "I told you, Samuel, I am busy. If she has no money, she has no business here." "But Ma," Samuel whispered, "you need to see her. I have never seen anyone like her. She is radiant." Beatrice looked up. She trusted Samuel's eyes for business. She walked to the window and looked down at the courtyard. Standing there was a girl in a simple cotton dress. She wore no makeup. She had no jewelry. But her skin glowed like the morning sun. Her shape was even more perfect than Beatrice's own. She stood with a humbleness that made the expensive cars in the yard look cheap. This was Chidinma. Beatrice's eyes widened. She didn't see a daughter. She didn't see a fellow believer. She saw a mountain of gold. She saw a girl who could make the most powerful man in the country fall to his knees. Chidinma was the ultimate prize. "Bring her up," Beatrice said. Her voice was low and hungry. "Bring her to me right now." When Chidinma walked into the office, she fell to her knees. She didn't look at the expensive furniture or the gold watches on the desk. She looked at Beatrice with tears of joy in her eyes. "Oh, Mama," Chidinma cried, "I have heard so much about you. I have prayed to God to let me serve you. I want to learn how to be a woman of virtue like you." Beatrice felt a small sting in her heart, but she pushed it away. She walked over and touched Chidinma's chin. The girl's skin was soft. She was pure. She was perfect. "Don't cry, my daughter," Beatrice said, using her most holy voice. "God has answered your prayers. You are home now. From today you will stay in this mansion. You will eat what I eat. You will wear what I wear. I am going to prepare you for a very special destiny." Chidinma thanked her over and over. She thought she had found a sanctuary. She didn't know she had just walked into a golden cage. That night, Beatrice didn't pray. Instead, she picked up her phone and called a number that wasn't in her contact list. It was a private line to a man known as the billionaire minister. He was a man who had everything, but he always wanted more. "I have found her," Beatrice whispered into the phone. "The one we talked about. She is pure. She is a virgin from the village. She is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen." The man on the other end laughed. "And the price, Beatrice?" Beatrice looked at her reflection in the mirror. She adjusted her hair and smiled a wicked smile. "The price is higher this time. This one is not just a girl. She is an angel, and angels are very expensive." As Beatrice hung up the phone, she heard a sound. It was coming from the room next door where Chidinma was staying. It was the sound of singing. Chidinma was singing a song of praise, thanking God for the kind woman who had taken her in. Beatrice stood there listening. For a moment, the room felt cold. But then she looked at her bank balance on her tablet. The numbers were large. The numbers were beautiful. She walked to the door and locked it. In her mind, the deal was already done. She would use the church service on Friday to bless Chidinma in public. But in private, the girl would be handed over to the minister. It was the perfect plan. Nobody would ever suspect the Golden Mother. But listen, a trap is only good until the bird refuses to eat the bait, and Chidinma was not a normal bird. If you are enjoying this story and want to see how the master of bad buddies gets exposed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. The preparations for the night of global honor began like a royal wedding. Beatrice moved through her mansion with the grace of a leopard. She had spent the last 3 days grooming Chidinma. She gave the girl dresses that felt like spider webs made of silk. She gave her perfumes that smelled like a garden after the rain. "You must look your best for the Lord, my daughter," Beatrice would say, while she secretly sent photos of the girl's measurements to the billionaire minister. Chidinma was confused. Back in her village, they taught her that God looks at the heart, not the outward appearance. But when she tried to speak, Beatrice would silence her with deep wisdom. "Philosophy is the language of the elite, Chidinma," Beatrice told her. "If you want to reach the kings of this earth for the sake of the gospel, you must look like a queen yourself." Chidinma tried to believe her. She spent her days reading the scriptures, but her heart was restless. Every time she walked past the youth empowerment wing of the mansion, she heard muffled sounds. It sounded like sobbing, but when she asked the other daughters about it, they looked at the floor and walked away. They were afraid. They knew that Beatrice's smile was a mask, and underneath that mask were teeth that could tear a life apart. One evening, Chidinma was asked to bring a cup of herbal tea to Beatrice's private study. The door was slightly open. Chidinma stopped when she heard Beatrice laughing. "The minister is impatient," Beatrice was saying into her phone. "He wants the item delivered on Friday night after the special anointing service. He has already transferred the first 50 million. Tell the boys at the border to clear the way for the other 3 girls. We are shipping them out at midnight." Chidinma's heart stopped. "Item? 50 million? Shipping girls?" She dropped the tray. The sound of the breaking ceramic was like a gunshot in the silent hallway. The laughter inside the room died instantly. The door swung open, and Beatrice stood there. She wasn't wearing her mother face anymore. Her eyes were dark and narrow. She looked at the tea spilled on the expensive rug. Then she looked at Chidinma's pale face. "How much did you hear?" Beatrice asked. Her voice was a dangerous whisper. I don't understand, Ma," Chidinma stammered. "Who are you shipping? Why is there money for a person?" Beatrice stepped closer. She was much taller in her high heels, looming over the girl like a mountain of shadow. Suddenly, her face changed. She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, my sweet, simple Chidinma," Beatrice said, stroking the girl's hair. "You misunderstood. We are shipping Bibles and relief materials to the orphans across the border. The items are the boxes. The minister is our biggest donor, you see? Your village ears are not used to big business." Chidinma wanted to believe her. She desperately wanted to believe her. But that night, for the first time, she didn't sleep. She stayed on her knees. She realized that the Golden Mother was surrounded by bad buddies, men who didn't look like they belonged in a church, men with scarred faces and cold eyes who came to the mansion at 2 a.m. The day of the Night of Global Honor arrived. The city was in a frenzy. Billboards with Beatrice's stunning face were everywhere. Politicians from the capital arrived in long convoys of black SUVs. The church was decorated with white lilies and gold ribbons. Inside the vestry, Beatrice was dressing Chidinma in a gown that was almost transparent, covered only by strategic layers of silver crystals. It was a dress designed for a red carpet, not an altar. "Tonight is your night," Beatrice whispered, painting Chidinma's lips a deep, blood-red color. "The minister will be sitting in the front row. When I call you forward for the special prayer, you will kneel before him. Let him see your beauty. It is your gift to the ministry." Chidinma felt sick. That day, while Beatrice was busy with the hairstylists, Chidinma had slipped into the private study. She found the black book. She saw her own name written in red ink. Next to it was the price, 100 million naira. Below her name were the names of 5 other girls from the church, girls who had graduated the month before and were never heard from again. The truth is a heavy burden, but only the truth can set a captive free. Are you ready to see how the light breaks the darkness? Chidinma didn't run. She knew that if she ran, Beatrice's bad buddies would catch her before she reached the gate. She took the book and hid it under her gown. She walked into the sanctuary with the weight of 100 lost lives against her skin. The service was electric. Beatrice was in top form. She paced the stage, her voice booming through the speakers. She spoke about sacrifice and the cost of greatness. The politicians were clapping. The business moguls were nodding. To them, Beatrice was a genius. She was their partner. She gave them the girls they wanted, and they gave her the protection she needed. "And now," Beatrice shouted, her voice reaching a high pitch, "I want to present to the world the fruit of my labor. My daughter Chidinma, a child of grace. Tonight she is being dedicated to a higher service." The lights dimmed. A single spotlight hit Chidinma as she walked onto the stage. The billionaire minister in the front row stood up, his eyes hungry. He looked at her like a man looking at a delicious meal. Beatrice leaned in close to Chidinma, the microphone still in her hand. "Kneel, my daughter," she whispered. "Kneel and receive your destiny." Chidinma walked to the edge of the stage. She looked down at the minister. She looked at the cameras that were broadcasting this service to millions of people online. She looked at Beatrice, who was smiling like a proud predator. Chidinma did not kneel. She reached into the folds of her silver dress and pulled out the black leather book. "The prophetess says I am a fruit of her labor," Chidinma's voice rang out. It wasn't loud, but it was so clear that the entire stadium went silent. "But in this book, she says I am an item for sale." Beatrice's face turned from gold to ash. "Chidinma, sit down! The spirit is moving!" she hissed, trying to grab the girl's arm. But Chidinma stepped away. "The only spirit moving here is the spirit of greed. In this book, there are names. Senator Williams, you paid 10 million for a girl named Mary. Chief Okoro, you are waiting for 3 girls to be shipped to you tonight at the border. The stadium exploded in noise. The politicians in the front row began to scramble for the exits. The bad buddies at the doors tried to move in, but the congregation, thousands of ordinary people who had been fooled for years, began to stand up. "She is a trafficker!" Chidinma cried, holding the book high. "This is not a church! It is a marketplace for human lives!" Beatrice tried to speak. She tried to use her brilliant eloquence one last time. "She is mad!" Beatrice screamed into her microphone. "The girl has a demon! Security, take her away!" But it was too late. Chidinma had already flipped the book to the last page and held it up to the main camera. The names, the dates, and the prices were visible to everyone watching on their phones and televisions. The night of global honor turned into a night of total chaos. The police, who had been secretly investigating the border disappearances, moved in. They didn't come for Chidinma. They came for the Golden Mother. As the handcuffs clicked around Beatrice's wrists, her stunning silk dress caught on a piece of the stage equipment and tore. Her expensive wig fell off. In a matter of seconds, the Oracle of Grace looked like a common criminal. The politicians she had served were the first to turn their backs on her, denying they ever knew her. 6 months later, the Tabernacle of Wonders was a silent, empty shell. The gold was gone. The billionaires were gone. Beatrice sat in a cold prison cell. Her stunning shape was gone, withered by the bad food and the heavy weight of her shame. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard the singing of the girls she had sold. She had used the name of the Creator to build a palace, but the Creator had used a simple village girl to tear it down. Chidinma returned to her village. She didn't take a kobo from the church. She went back to her simple cotton dresses and her humble life. But now, when she sang, people didn't just listen to her voice. They listened to her truth. The story of Pastor Beatrice became a warning told across the land. It reminded everyone that a curvy shape and a brilliant tongue can hide a rotten heart. It reminded them that the eyes of the truth never sleep. You can dress a lie in velvet, but under the light it will always be a shadow.